Hey everyone, this is the Outlander After Show, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello everyone, welcome back for another sexy week of Outlander, Season 3, Episode 4 of Lost Things. I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow. And here are my fellow co-hosts.
I'm Emily Harlan. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at OMGIt'sMLE.
And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Rach Goodman or Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman.
All right, so first thoughts.
Yes, I like this episode, and I like it even better that you called it a sexy episode. I would have to agree.
I mean, it wasn't like the two people I wanted to be having sex, but it was a sexy time. Even though it was complicated. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the downside for me, is that I was like, oh, I don't even like that character. Yeah. So I was like, no, get this over with.
I surprisingly, and I know we'll get into it a little later, but I surprisingly was not that bothered as much as I thought I was going to be, because just knowing that he was going to have a relationship with this new character, at first I thought I would not like this episode at all, but I actually really liked it. I wasn't that mad about it.
I think the only thing that makes it redeeming for me is that, one, he got a son out of it, and that relationship I love. Yeah. And then the other thing is that he was obviously not emotionally invested.
Yeah, I think the producers, if you watch the little talk back at the end of the episode, made a really good point that they really wanted to make the character of Geneva a little bit more human, or not human, but you have a little bit more empathy for her in the TV show versus in the book, whereas it's just kind of like, you will do this thing and, you know, basically like blackmailing him into sex, which she still does. It's still blackmail, you guys. But that he kind of when the time came for the sex, he was a little bit more compassionate towards her, and in turn she was a little bit more compassionate towards him. So I did appreciate that slight change, because, you know, anytime someone is like basically forced into a situation for sex against their will is never fun. And Jamie, dear Lord.
I know. The amount I was watching this episode, and at one point I said, like, I feel like he's lived like 1,000 lives because of all the stuff that he's had to go through, and just like, it's like every week is like a new thing that poor Jamie has to go through. But I mean, neither one of them have had a good past 20 years, really, but Jamie's 20 years by far have been a lot more strenuous and like emotionally debilitating.
The only reason I think that actually might be easier for Jamie, even though he went through harder things, is that he didn't have as much time to sit and think and reminisce about his relationship. Obviously, he still thinks about Claire, whereas Claire in the 40s, 50s, 60s, she is not going through as much, and she has more time to sit and think. And have it really bother her. So a different kind of, I
suppose, but she's also like a full-blown surgeon at this point, so there's kind of like
she hasn't been like in jail
balance.
And
that's true. Maybe that's why she works so much too in the first place.
To kind of avoid having it. Sorry, I put my tongue. Dealing with those feelings. Let's go ahead and go into Claire then. So when we start this episode, we've done her time jump. So it's now 1966, 68. Eight.
Yeah.
And we're back in Scotland with her and with her daughter Brianna, the adult Brianna. Which, she's a little less annoying, and she has a wig. And then we're with, what is his name?
Roger.
So we're pretty much right back where we left season 2. And they're looking through all these books. And I don't know, I was kind of frustrated. I don't know how you guys felt, but I was like, what is the holdup? It didn't.
So I kind of thought, the way that they showed at the end of season 2, that she was just gonna go back.
I thought she was already
go find him back there. Like, don't.
What are you waiting for?
Claire? Hasn't she already learned this lesson? Like, don't waste any more time.
I know.
Well, I understand, because what if he's dead? Then she's back there, and what if she can't get back, and all that kind of stuff. But I thought that they were going to play a little bit more into Frank doing that research.
Yeah.
Or is it just something that they started and then he abandoned? Or is it, well, maybe that's your predictions. I'll leave it later. But,
Can I tell you what frustrates me too? The fact, like, kind of how they're showing the time jump, because not back and forth between Jamie and Claire, but the fact that, and I forget her name, but the woman who went back, she was in 1968. Gillis.
Yeah.
She went back, and she ended up around the same time period as when Claire went back in the 40s. So I don't understand how it logically works and how they know that she's going to go back and end up, 20 years later from where she left the first time.
So when Gillis left, when she runs into Claire in the 60s, or when they're like in passing in the 60s, it's right before she goes back. I think that was like 66.
Yeah.
Because that's when she runs into her at the university. Or 67. It's like right after Frank has died, but right before they decide to go to Scotland. There's like a brief meeting between them. So that would actually make sense that she's just on her own different time track. So when she first meets Gillis, that maybe Gillis has only been there for maybe a year or so at that point, because she goes back, in 1748? Or 46. 46 is her time.
Yeah.
Actually, that doesn't make
So
sense.
that's what I'm saying, is that why would she, like, unless it's different per person, somehow for Gillis, she went back to X year, and then if she came back, she'd keep coming back and forth between those two time periods.
Well, if Gillis went... Okay, I'm going to get this right. So Frank died...
In, like, 66.
66. Yeah. He died a few months after Brianna graduated from high school. So that would mean that Brianna was looking to go to a college in 66.
Yeah.
Which is when we run into Gillis. So Gillis would have gone back in time, probably maybe a few months before Claire did. And I would have to go back and watch season 1 to see like how long Gillis had been there. But it could be implied that she hadn't been there for very long. That if she'd only been there for a few months, then maybe... I don't know, it gets all really timey-wimey with wobbly.
know.
But in any case, there's something to be said where they could have potentially only overlapped by a few months. So she could have gone there. And I think she was even talking about going to Scotland when we see her in the 60s. So, in any case, she died, I think a year in anyway. So she had the baby, and then she was burned. So, they're trying to make it work. I don't know. I feel bad for shows that deal with time travel, because there's always one thing they didn't catch, and they're like, oh crap, how are we going to explain that?
And having not read the books too, I don't know how to compare it, because maybe the books handled it differently than how the show is portraying it. But like just getting, with Claire and everything, I don't understand why she wouldn't just say, you know what, I'm just going to go. And I'll come back.
Yeah, I think I understand that, because there, even in the previews for next week, she mentions, what if I can't come back?
Yeah.
And so that's a big fear of like, well, maybe you do get trapped. Because I think that was even a thing with Gillis. Gillis couldn't go back. And so that's something that she has to kind of consider with her daughter. And if he's not there, then she has to live out the rest of her life, alone without her child.
Yeah, in this time where she has like no rights, less than what she has now. And I kind of get it, just because I would want, if I was in this position and I was time traveling, I would want to know where, like, try to get as close to a pinpoint of where this person was and if this person was still alive before I'm like, I'll go back in time and just check it out. Yeah. Like, I would want to do as much research as possible to try to figure out, like, where he was at what year. So, I mean, I understand it, but it's just unfortunate that she's waited 20 years to, like, try to track this out, I mean, I get it, because of Brianna, she obviously didn't want to just be like, see a daughter. But, or
I'm going to take my baby, and
Frank,
wing it. And hopefully my baby can come through, too. Or that'll be awkward. I get why she stayed. And there was something about how in the books, I haven't read the books, and I know people are like, we need a book reader on the panel.
I know. Sorry, I haven't either, everybody.
We need a man on the panel. If you can find a man
Send
who has
way.
watched Outlander seasons 1 through 3, you let me know. We could go on a date, because geez Louise, I haven't met a single man who watches Outlander. Okay.
Yes.
So
we have a couple people in the chat that are commenting too.
Yeah.
So we have Alexis Dash. She just wanted to comment and say that the show's been pretty true to the books and she's read them all. Alyssa Gossage says, Geneva sympathetic. Really, if it were a man forcing a woman, would the man be sympathetic?
No, listen. Because everyone knows I can talk about this all day. No. I think that's something to be said about I think we've kind of already addressed that the terrible things keep happening to Jamie.
Yeah.
And it's not about having sympathy for Geneva by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to her blackmailing Jamie to have sex. I think what the producers were trying to imply was that the compassion that Jamie showed this woman, this girl really, because she's not even 18.
Yeah.
Was what they were really trying to communicate more so than the blackmailing aspect. No. Sexual assault is never cool. Man to woman, woman to man, woman to woman, man to man.
Yeah.
So that's not something that we're saying. We're just trying to say that what they were trying to get us to feel was a sense of empathy for the character as just this kind of entitled, naive nitwit. And I can see where they were coming from. That doesn't mean I agree with like her actions or how she went about her life, because she died pretty much 9 months later. But like that's what we're just saying.
Yeah, and even like you said, at the end when they were talking to the producers, they said like they felt sorry for her, you know, and I think I did too, just seeing that, not for what she was doing to Jamie, but for the situation that she was in, right? And I kind of saw that moment, and yeah, of course, like you said, it's never okay, and I felt bad for Jamie, but on the other hand, I liked, and not that it's ever okay, but I liked that she was kind of saying, you know what, I'm going to try to take what little control I have, and I'm not going to let this guy who could be my grandpa be my first time, and I'm going to try to take whatever control I can to change that narrative. And I was like, yeah, you know what, good for her. Not in the way she did it.
Not in the way she did it, but you can understand that, you know, of course, she's using her power and entitlement over Jamie to get him to do those actions. But at the same time, I mean, we're going to talk about this later. Now we're talking about Jamie. But it's okay. At the same time, she is essentially being sold into a marriage with a man who is old enough to be her grandfather, who will probably rape her night after night. So, if you want me to be direct about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I personally did not like her as a character, and I did not like what she did to Jamie, and so I didn't really care that she, well, okay, let me rephrase this. I did care that she was being forced into this marriage, but the way that she handled it and the way that she chose to react about it, made me not like her as a character.
Yeah.
And I really felt bad for Jamie and thought, this is really messed up, because she was taking advantage of the fact that she was in a higher power than him and could make him do something because of her higher power and because she could blackmail him. So I didn't like that. And when I saw them like sleeping together, the only thing that redeemed it in my eyes was that she did tell Jamie what was going on and said that she wanted her first time to be with someone around her age. And Jamie, in that moment, he kind of seemed like he did choose to go and do it. So that's the only reason why I don't see it as bad as how it could have been.
I think what we're really talking about, what we liked about the sex scene, not the character. I mean, I could care less about that horrible woman. But was really... the reason you feel empathy for her is through the compassion that Jamie shows her. So it's really about Jamie choosing to show a compassion to a woman who is at that point being cruel to her. And that's, I guess, what we're really reacting to, not necessarily to the woman in and of herself.
Right.
Does that answer it?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get back.
All right.
Back to Claire. Where were we? Okay. What I was going to talk about is the difference in the books. So I don't know too much about the books, but I do kind of skim occasionally to see like where they're going to head, where they're going to go, so I can have a better idea. I just simply don't have time to read the books right now, you guys. I will catch up, but it's also like I'm way behind. This book came out in 1995 or some crap, and it's still going.
Yeah. There's so many books too.
And I just can't get addicted to books. It's an addiction. Joe Abernathy is kind of played down. Like they really only used him in the past 2 or 3 episodes, but in the books there is this kind of camaraderie between them that we actually don't really get to experience in the show, that I was kind of disappointed by, because it's even brought up in that final fight in the books between Frank and Claire about how he's like jealous of her relationship with Joe and how he thinks that they might have an affair, and he says like some really horrible racist crap, which is why they didn't put it in the show. And that was just something that I thought was really interesting. They kind of whoop, caught it, glazed over that character dynamic. Did you guys have any comments on that? Or?
I mean, I didn't know that about the books, that it's kind of, they have more of a relationship than what they showed. I wish that we would have seen more of that, because just thinking about it, like in the episodes, I don't mind the jumping back and forth between Claire and Jamie, like you said. Like, that doesn't bother me. I'm actually kind of used to it now and looking forward to, like, okay, that's wrapped up that part of Jamie's. Let's see what's going on with Claire. But the whole, like, forward time jump as far as, like, how many years are passing between each is kind of bothering me. So I wish they would have done more development on Claire's side, so we could have seen, and we talked about that I think last week too, about how it felt like we didn't get to see all the little parts that, you know, we as a viewer I would have liked to see. So yeah, I would have liked to see more of a relationship with them, and just that phone call, you could see that it was something a little bit special between them. I don't know in a, you know, romantic way or not, but just like they had a connection. And I wish we would have seen more than that, than just like a little 30-second snippet. You know,
my issue in general with 1968 is that they're not showing us enough of Claire's struggle. At times they are, but that brief conversation wasn't enough. Like, if this is a woman who's been a surgeon, we really needed to see more, and we needed to see her make that, you know, what that choice really meant to her, and how, like, what the stakes were to leave that behind. And I just don't feel as connected to Claire in this time period, because they're just, it's too short, it's too cut up. I really, like, I know that in the books I've heard that they do spend more time on what Jamie's going through, but since they're making this into a, you know, TV show, it would have been better to take a little bit of liberty, I think, and add more so that we could really see what she was going through, instead of cutting it back and forth so quickly.
I think a big part of Outlander is that it's really Claire's story. And so when Claire is kind of taking a secondary character to Jamie's story, don't get me wrong, I love Jamie, but it kind of makes me as an audience member go, oh, but isn't this is Claire's story, right? Isn't this about this woman's journey and all that kind of stuff? So to that extent, I would do want more of Claire outside of her personal life, outside of her home life, because then you show that she's more well-rounded, that it's not just about these two men in her life.
Can I just make a quick comment too? I think it would have been more interesting if, where they left it at the end of season 2, where that was great the way they did that. When they cut to season 3, I think it would have been more interesting to keep the mystery with Jamie, have her start to go back. We see kind of it from her point of view. Then maybe when she finally sees Jamie, then we start to see more of the flashbacks about what he went through. But this way is kind of taking, for me, it's taking the mystery out of it. So now we know everything, and it's just kind of like,
Well, I think they're trying to honor the book, and also at this point, we still are 2 years behind, or a year behind, 2 years behind with Jamie. So Claire's in 68, and by the time we get to him with his son, he's in 1766. So we still aren't going to see those 2 years until we get to. But I understand why they're doing it, because they're trying to follow the book. So they're just trying to be as parallel. Let's say parallel.
We'll go with that.
To the book. I was like, analogous, that can't be right. To the book as possible. And just before we get to Jamie, I want to talk a little bit about Brianna and Roger. So how do you guys feel about those characters?
Well, watching Brianna, I always think of you, because I know you're like hesitant on that character or the actress, I guess, just a little bit. Neither of them bother me really, and I guess I could take or leave their relationship, you know? It's kind of one of those things where it's there, so it's like, okay, great, this is fine. If they weren't there and those characters weren't as big of a part of it, that wouldn't impact me either. So I'm kind of indifferent, to be honest. I don't know.
Right now, that's my favorite part of the show, is seeing them get together.
Oh.
And I know, like, I looked up some of the books, so I kind of know sort of what happens between the two of them.
Me too.
But yeah, like, that's my favorite part, and I actually really like Brianna as a character, and I like the actress of how she's playing it. So I think one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing was when she was helping Roger with his car, and just the fact that she knew how to fix it and he didn't. I was like, yep, that's exactly what should happen.
No, I like the character. I just don't necessarily like the portrayal. I think sometimes when she delivers the lines. Like, it's like because she's English. And so sometimes when you have to do an accent that's not a part of your general voice, I feel like sometimes people end up not sounding genuine. And so that's kind of why sometimes I can go, oh, okay, I can see you reading this line off the page, and then I can see you going, and I'm going to say it. And that's my qualm. I just felt, I don't know.
I could see that.
I just always feel like she's
just kind of like bland.
Yeah, she's kind of bland. Give me 30-year-old Brianna. I'm ready for her. All right. On that note, hey guys, book clubs are back.
All right.
For me, they didn't go anywhere. I've been in a book club since I was 22 years old. But book clubs, I'm so horrible at this. Book clubs are back in action, and so are many of our other fall activities. Audiobooks are the perfect complement to your busy schedule since you can listen while you do other things. Multitasking at its best. You won't be unprepared for book club again. Listen to new releases such as My Absolute Darling, a debut novel that has been giving rave reviews, The Girl Who Takes an Eye for an Eye, new in the Elizabeth Salander series. You guys know what I'm talking about, Girl with Dragon Tattoo. Or A Column of Fire, new Ken Follett, and enjoy a whole new club experience. Visit tryaudiobooks.com/podcast for book club suggestions, discussion questions, and a free full download of an audiobook for your whole book club to listen to. Penguin Random House Audio is the premier award-winning audiobook publisher. 13 Grammy Awards, 69 Audie Awards, and 15 Odyssey Awards. Penguin Random House is dedicated to producing top-quality fiction and nonfiction audiobooks written and read by the best in the business. So that's tryaudiobooks.com/podcast. Okay, now on to Jamie. Oh, gosh. Anyways, so Jamie is now a groomsman. For the, oh my gosh, Dusani. No, well, I had it in my head. Geneva Dusani. It's not Dusani. That's like Dusani.
I have Earl of Ellesmere.
That's Geneva's husband.
Oh.
Can you look at it? Can someone in the chat room just make sure I'm pronouncing this correctly? The name of the family that Jamie works for is the groomsman. It's like Dusani or Lasani. Sorry, guys.
I don't know.
It's been a busy day.
I will tell you in a second.
So, anyways, he's a groomsman.
Lord
Dunsany.
Dunsany. I was like, it's not Dasani, that's a brand of water. Dunsany. All right, so he's a groomsman for Dunsany, the Dunsany family. And the Lord, Dunsany, he is aware that Jamie's a prisoner. And even more so aware that Jamie is, no, he doesn't know he's Jamie, right? Or
I think he just knows Alex.
He just knows that he was a Jacobite.
That he was a Jacobite, exactly. Yeah. But that John is doing a solid, he's, sorry to bring, he's doing him solid. So, yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
And that he's going to, basically still be a prisoner, even though he'll still get a stipend and he'll be considered like a groomsman and under the employ of this family. He is a prisoner. So what was your first thoughts on just that whole family, the Lord and the wife and the two daughters? The madam.
Go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Except for the sister, who when I didn't know her name,
Geneva.
Yeah, I was like, basically every time I referred to her, it was like the B sister. I did not know, what her name was or anything. Aside from her, I liked the other characters, and I even liked the family, even though it was under this idea that he was kind of their servant, but I still thought they were kind of treating him pretty well.
I wasn't a huge fan, just because it was really hard for me to see Jamie in kind of this servant role, and I know he's been a prisoner and we've seen him obviously he hasn't had his freedom or anything, but it was hard for me as somebody that really obviously loves Jamie and wants to see his character do well, to see him kind of having to bow and keep his head down. So I didn't like that aspect of it. So I think I didn't like the family because I knew he was serving them. I kind of same thing. I was a little indifferent to the family with Geneva. As soon as I saw her, I'm like, I know that's the girl he's going to get with because she reminded me of Claire.
Yeah.
I agree.
In physical aspects a little bit, and also in just kind of her demeanor, not in being like mean and rude. I know she was mean and rude, but just kind of like being a rebel and like being a headstrong girl, you know. So I just kind of was like, that's the girl that I know Jamie's gonna hook up with. And then the other sister, she was all right. It was kind of, I don't know.
We don't get to spend a lot of time with this family.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to them this episode, and then they're gone this episode. And so,
I know we're not there yet, but can I just say I absolutely loved his son.
Yeah.
That whole relationship. I was like, now Jamie has something to live for, even though.
Yeah. And we'll touch on that in a little bit. But was there anything from the chat room or anything?
We've got a couple of comments.
Sure.
So Carolyn Perry says, Voyager is the first book where we saw Jamie's point of view. It's now Claire and Jamie's story from now on.
Oh, okay.
Alyssa Gossage says, I think Roger is a bit wishy-washy. He's certainly no Jamie. That's true. And then Alexis Dash was just telling us the name Dunsany of the family. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alexis.
Yeah, thank you. So when we are introduced to them, it's very clearly, you clearly know early on that Geneva is liked by no one. Because I think, day one of Jamie being a groomsman, they pull straws. And I was like, what?
I thought he was going to get the straw the first day.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to come back.
Yeah, I knew you know what? He never pulled that straw. He just happened to be Jamie. Like, I mean, Jamie.
Yeah.
It's just, gosh. So we're introduced early on that Geneva is not well liked, and that her sister is the kinder one, the one with the more gentle heart, and that she has an interest in John Craigh, and that she thinks that.
Awkward.
And what I liked is that Jamie was very quick to say, like, oh, he's a military man for life. And she's like, well, that's what I love about him. That's really sweet that he tried. And she was like, that's what I love. But we get to also see a little bit of his relationship with John Craigh as well, that they do come and he plays chess with them. And then his brother shows up.
Melton.
Yes.
Colonel Melton.
I don't know. How did you all feel about that? Because it was very much like who knows what Melton's going to do, and like, is he going to freak out?
I was shocked just that Craigh was still hanging out with them, or they were still meeting. I mean, I don't remember if that happened in the last episode that he said, I'm gonna come check in on you. Okay, so maybe that's where that came from. But just to see him there, I'm like, whoa, this is weird to me that they're still hanging out, or I guess checking in on him or whatever, playing chess. And then when Colonel Melton came in and he said, if it were up to me, I would have never let such a man go. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, I know you could just feel that tension, so that was kind of crazy for me to see. And then just that Geneva being the mean, rude lady girl, whatever that she is, took that information from him, to then turn it on Jamie, was kind of crazy. But that was weird for me to see that they were still, and it seemed like they were like buddies and pals, and so that was kind of odd for me.
See, I kind of expected that. I remember he said he was going to visit, but then when he was just kind of hanging out playing chess with them, I kind of got the vibe that John Craigh does love Jamie, even before that moment at the end of the episode. So to me, I was expecting him to be there, and I just thought, okay, well, John Craigh is a very nice person. Like, he just kind of seems like he genuinely cares about Jamie's welfare. I was a little concerned when Milton showed up. I didn't know how he was going to react, but something told me that he was just going to let it go because he seems like he's a man of honor and that he would live by his promise. So I didn't think he would intentionally give away information, but I kind of knew when Geneva was like flirting with him and hanging on his arm that she was going to try to get information out of him. So it kind of made sense to me what happened.
Yeah, I think when Ellis Mears introduced, you kind of know from then, like, okay, well, Jamie, like, she's looking at you, dude. Like, 'cause there was that beat of like her realizing she has to marry this guy, and then her looking back at Jamie, and the next beat we see her with Melton. And so it's not surprising at all that she was like, yeah, I got him drunk and I got him to confess who you really were.
Not at all,
I was like, oh, that's kind of sad that, that he could be so easily plowed with liquor, and his vault opens, to quote Seinfeld. But in any case, before we jump into, well, we already kind of talked about their sex scenes. We don't really have to go into that again. We all kind of know what we feel about that and how that went down. And yeah, they had sex, you guys, and it was a pretty hot sex scene, even though it wasn't. It wasn't a legit thing. He was Jamie. I'm not talking about her, but Jamie. As always, such a classy man, even when he's spanking his wife, and you're like, no. Season 1, y'all. But he's such a classy man in the way he handles her feelings after. And she's like, I love you. And he's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you.
Can I just say that was probably my favorite line in the whole episode, because he explained love in such a wonderful way.
Yeah.
And he was almost talking to her, trying to get her, I don't know, maybe trying to relax her and just trying to maybe talk with some hope.
Yeah, I liked how he said that it's not love. And for me, obviously, I think the majority of people that watch the show are obviously want Jamie and Claire to be together, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that he isn't, obviously, is a little hard to see. But just the fact that he kind of said, this isn't love. Like, love is, giving your heart and soul. And it was kind of like that redeeming part of, he's still, even he had to do this, and he's been with her, and he was with that other lady a couple episodes ago. Like, Claire is still his girl, obviously.
Yeah.
Like through his heart and through his soul, kind of thing. So I liked that he kind of steered her. He wasn't like, okay, see ya. He just was kind of like trying to.
Thank God. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Jamie got up after taking this girl's virginity, regardless of the fact that she blackmailed this man? Like, I would be like, that's not Jamie. That's so-and-so from down the street. Like, that's not Jamie. This isn't Outlander. He can't be a part of hookup culture. Anyways, I've listened to a whole podcast on hookup culture before I got here, so I'm a little bit more lit about it. So we get to see him kind of really just be just such a kind-hearted Jamie. Like, so many horrible things have happened to this man, and he's still such a good heart, and that amazes me, because I don't think I would be that person, like, by any stretch of the imagination. So kudos to Jamie for just being such a good heart, even at the lowest of the lows. But so she marries Ellesmere, who is pretty repugnant. Like, just before we even get to the birth scene, he's just a pretty repugnant man. Yeah. He said something about her to her parents when he was walking, when they were, like, negotiating the marriage. I cannot remember what it was, but I was like, oh, God, okay, this is, like, an icky marriage. This is not,
creepy.
He's, like, so happy to have a girl so young. And it's just, like, it's like buying cattle.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. And it's just kind of gross. In any case, after they've been married, and she comes back to visit her family, and she's still Geneva, and she's still kind of a bitch, she comes out, and she hugs her sister, and she turns around, and she touches her belly and looks at Jamie, and I'm like, oh, gross. Like, really? Come on. Like, come on.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah.
We all know.
He knows.
He gets it. Did you really need to do all that?
Yeah. It was so dramatic. It was like,
so dramatic. It was like, thanks for the baby. So that was kind of gross. But anyways, so we jump to her birth, and she has a difficult birth. And I think for Jamie, in that sense, because that's the character I care most about in the scene, is that for him there's a fear. Okay, well, what if I lose another child? Regardless of how the child was brought into the world, if this child dies, like, what is that going to do to him? Like, because he's already lost so much. And this is kind of like, even if the child is illegitimate, quote unquote, that's still his son. Yeah. And he still has that desire to be a part in some way of his life. So how did you guys feel about just like that, the start of that scene of like, well, what's this going to mean for him? What's this going to mean for her?
Yeah. I thought, you know, he had mentioned at some point before that, you know, I've lost 2 kids of my own, or I've lost 2 children, or I think when he was talking to Lord Dunsany, whatever, whatever, that guy. And so I knew that somehow it was going to come, that was going to play into the episode, and just seeing his like just fear on his face of losing another child, you just like hurt for him so much, and part of it was like, okay, because I have not read the books and I did not look ahead, so I wasn't sure where this character, what was going to happen with it. So part of you think, for me, I thought like, oh, is he going to lose another kid and this is just going to like spiral him out of control? So there was fear as a viewer too of what this was going to do to him. So yeah, that was kind of a scary scene for me, just for his character.
I wasn't sure how it was going to go down, but I was hopeful that the baby would live, and that even if Geneva stayed married to the guy, even if she stayed married to him, at least Jamie would have someone that was his child around for him to live for. Even if he couldn't admit it was his child, I felt really happy for him, because I was like, yeah, it couldn't have, like, it's obviously they've pushed it so much this season. Obviously he wants a child.
Yeah. I mean, he's talked about the loss he's had in his life, and that you know, he's never met any of his children. That's got to be really heartbreaking. So Geneva dies through childbirth. She ends up bleeding out, and that was something that even when they brought it up, how she seemed fine, and then all of a sudden she started bleeding, and I was like, gosh, I wonder like if Jamie could have, if because he has some type of knowledge of that medicine, if he would have been able to say anything. But obviously he's not a doctor, and Claire isn't there.
And if he had showed too much concern, they might have thought something was up, especially once it was revealed that she had not slept with her husband.
So can we talk about that? Like, that's Trap a Man 101, okay? I've never trapped I am childless, you guys, okay? I don't trap people. But I know people who do trap people, okay? And I have seen Maury in my life, okay? So, Maury Povich, if you're wondering what I'm talking about. If you want to pass off your child as someone else's, you must sleep with that person.
At least one time. At least one time.
Yeah, like,
I know. Well, and why did this take this long for it to come out? Like, why did the child get birthed, or you know, and then he's like, oh wait, okay, well, there was 9 months before when this could have been brought up. Like, how is it just now this issue where he's like, I'm gonna kill this baby? Like, what?
Why? You know what's messed up?
Weird.
It was like he waited for her to die, and then he decided he was gonna kill the baby. Why not? It's like, I don't know, it's almost like he knew it would ruin his reputation if he admitted it while she was still alive. But you would think on her part she would sleep with the guy like at least once.
I don't know.
Trap a Man 101 is right there. You sleep with, if you get knocked up by someone else. I was just listening to an episode of The Read where they talked about this, another podcast, and they were like, and my friend, it was a listener letter, my friend slept with the other man to make sure that the man thought that baby was his when it wasn't, okay? Trap 101. Geneva, get it down.
She's not
I'm sorry,
very
rest
smart.
in peace. But, no, I think the reason why he turned at that point is because he had lost, this is gross what I'm about to say, he had lost his, like, prized cattle. So, like, if you were really here for the cattle, and then you end up with the calf, and the calf, you know, isn't going to bring in the same amount of money as your prized cattle, then you're like, well, I didn't want this calf to begin with. Like, I didn't sign up for this. And so that's kind of, I think, where he's coming from, even though it's still like repulsive and awful, is that the moment he realizes that she's died, he realizes he is stuck with this child. And he does not want this child. And also, he knows the child is not his. It's one thing to save face if you think that, okay, well, maybe later down the line, maybe I can just, shove this child off a cliff. If I can have another child with this woman, this is horrible things coming out of my mouth.
It's fiction.
But I'm speaking on behalf of a horrible person. So don't take this as my personal comments. I'm just talking about this horrible man's mindset. But if she's not there to give him another child, then he doesn't want this child either.
Because what's he going to do? Like, you know, take care of a child that's not his? And I could see, even though it's terrible, and this man is obviously in the wrong in so many ways, I can, you know, in his mind, he's probably thinking, well, yeah, I don't want to be stuck with this child that's not mine.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking too, like, I don't know this for a fact, but my guess is that it might even have looked bad to him that his wife died. I don't know if somehow
Maybe
that was
a sign of, like, you know, people were weird. They'd be like, oh, the wife died, it's a sign of weakness or whatever.
Yeah, like something really terrible, but that he might have thought because that was his upbringing, or that's just the way that men, you know, some jerk men like that thought back then.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of them.
Yeah.
It was the mindset. But I think even if he didn't want to raise a child and she died, it just proves that he was just like a jerk man, because he could have just been like, I don't want to touch that kid.
Yeah,
I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah. Not kill the baby.
I just make sure you get all your things together. You leave my estate.
Yeah.
We won't ever speak of this again. She died. The baby died.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to leave it. For him to just be like, you know what? You can just pass that off as your other daughter's baby. Let's not talk about it. But no, of course he has to go crazy, hold a knife to an infant.
I know. Oh
that whole scene.
Oh, I was so scared.
I know, me too. I didn't like
I was not afraid at all, because once Jamie had the gun, I was like, Jamie is going to shoot this man. And as long as you know the baby's okay, he's probably going to do it.
Did you guys get freaked out when the baby fell?
Yes.
Because that, to me, I was like, wait, is this baby now going to have brain damage? Because he dropped the baby.
I know. Yeah, I mean, he couldn't do anything else. Like, that's what he had to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that freaked me out too. I'm like, and even thinking, I'm like, okay, Jamie's gonna shoot this guy, but the baby's gonna fall, like, from that. So yeah, that kind of freaked me out. But you know, seems like he turned out all right, little Willie. You know,
babies are mainly cartilage, so I've never dropped a baby either, you guys. I'm just speaking scientifically, but I sound horrible this episode.
If the baby landed on his head, though.
Exactly. No, if the baby landed on his head, that would have been bad. But but I also was like, this is not going to be that show. They're not going to be like, you know,
baby killers.
We've already killed a few babies, like, on the show. We're not going to do that right now. So I think, Jamie was taking a risk with shooting him. But I think
he had to.
Knew
He didn't have a choice.
Like, either I take a risk or he kills this baby.
That's my baby.
Yeah. So he gets to see the baby grow up.
Yeah.
And he gets to, and even the lady of the house comes forward and is like, I know you're a Jacobite.
Yeah.
But what you did for us, we will, never be forgotten. So we're going to set you free. And I was like, wow. Talk about having power, because all it took was his family to be like, we're just going to call some people in London and it's going to be wrapped up, and if you want to go right now, you can. And Jamie's like, see, I got that little wee one right there. I'm not going to say that, but I would like to stay for a little bit, just hang out, make some money. And she's like, cool, let me know where you want to go.
Yeah, just say the word. Like, that was easy. Where's my Staples button? Like,
right? Just like, all you gotta do is just save your child. And we get to jump forward to 10 years, and we get to see young William, or Willie, which is also the name of my dog. Rest in peace. Sorry, guys. That's just what it made me think of. So it was nice to see Jamie finally interact with one of his children, and to see that dynamic. And I was so hoping the kid would have like reddish hair.
Yeah.
Not full red, because that would be a dead giveaway, but reddish.
Yeah.
And that everyone's starting to pick up on it. But you're like, God, they look so much alike.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't seeing that.
I didn't either, to be honest. I tried, but I didn't see it. But I mean, obviously, it's like that's the way the story goes. But just looking at the two characters, or the two actors, I'm like, I don't see resemblance. But I mean,
I see Brianna in him more because of the red hair.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think the big thing was that they gave him both blue eyes. That was like kind of like, even when John Gray talks to him about it, how it's like, well, he has your eyes or whatever. I know, I didn't see it. Yeah. I mean, that's really hard to pull off, getting two actors who look alike. It's like when they found that girl to play young Jennifer Garner on 13 Going on 30. I was like, wow. That
was close.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. She's done it twice. She's played young Jennifer Garner twice, you guys.
Wow.
But side note, fun fact. I thought that, regardless of how they looked, it was just nice to see him interact and to kind of raise his kid. And the fact that I think everyone in the family had to have known at least the father and the daughter, because he was raising this child, like, you know, like teaching him how to ride a horse.
Taking
and,
much more interest.
Yeah, taking a lot of interest. And people are like, oh, well, he's just, you know, Willie's just fond of Jamie. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, you guys.
No. Yeah, they know.
They know. But when Jamie starts to realize that he is looking a little bit too much like him, he's like, well, I guess it's time to go.
Yeah.
And so he gets his things together and he prepares to leave. And we have that really sad moment where Willie is like not about that life and starts acting out. And he pats him on the butt. I was like,
it was hilarious.
I was like, that's so cute. I mean, that's so weird and cute. But like,
and then he calls him a name, and Willie's like, take it back.
He called him a bastard.
Yeah,
and I was like, I take it back. But I think for me, one of the most touching scenes of this episode was the final scene between him and John Craigh, where John has decided to marry
Isabel.
Yeah. And Jamie's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do this to this woman.
Yeah.
And he's like, well,
I'll make a good husband.
I'll make a good husband, and I really do like her, and I had my fun in London. And I was like,
but I'll never stop loving you, Jamie.
Yeah, but that was kind of it was really just like such a vulnerable moment because it was something, even the offering that Jamie did.
Yeah, that shocked me. I was watching it and I went, oh my God, Jamie. You know, that's something that I like literally, I was not prepared for him to, and it's just speaks to his character, to Jamie's character, that he's willing to do anything to protect the people he loves, right? Like anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a shock to me that was even on the table.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, when I heard him do that, it also to me speaks to Jamie's fondness of John Craigh. Even if it's not in the same way, he obviously respects him enough that he would offer that in the first place, even if it was for his son. But just the fact that he would do it at all, I think, goes to show that he does admire John.
I think it also kind of shows like how broken in a way that Jamie is just of what happened to him with Frank, that it was kind of like he's like, okay, well, I'll offer this, obviously himself not enjoying it, you know, but just being like, well, it's okay, fine. Like I kind of felt like this is a broken man just doing what he can to protect his son, and it just was heartbreaking.
Like, I think Jamie's had his body used a few times, and so he's kind of at that point where he's just kind of like, it doesn't, I'm not sure if it means much to him anymore at that point. And so, but kudos to John Craigh for being like,
no.
I would be insulted if I didn't understand like why you were offering this.
Right.
He's like, but I'm marrying Isabel, so I will be in your son's life regardless.
Yeah.
You need not worry.
That.
Yeah,
And I was like,
that.
oh,
yeah, that character was John Craigh's character. Like, really was like, okay, this is a good guy. I think, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, and then we get to have that final scene with Willie, and he's he gives him the snake that his father or his brother gave him with his name on it, and christens him a Catholic, and you know, it's very sweet to see him have that moment, even if it's private and they'll never get to really share it. They may never see each other again. He was able to give him that. And so but then we have that blue Valentine moment of like him just going away and them chasing after him, and it was just like a really sweet way, bittersweet way to end the episode. So with that, let's go into predictions. There we go. All right.
I think Claire's gonna find Jamie.
Predictions, and we're done, you guys. That's been great now.
It shows that she's going back, right? That's what we saw. What happens, unless it was a dream, which I hope it wasn't. I think she's gonna have a little bit of a hard time finding Jamie. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as we want it to be. But yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on with her, and hopefully Jamie can kind of go back to Lollybrook and be where Claire should be looking. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I think the clues to Jamie will be at her house, and that all this time Frank has been getting that information, and all the books that they were missing will be in his study, and she's going to be like pissed off, and then so happy, but then hurt that she hurt Frank in this way because he had been keeping track of her husband all this time, even though he didn't tell her, and that will piss her off even more. So I think that's going to be the big thing, is that she realizes that he is alive and that Frank would have been keeping track, and so she knows where to go and how to find him. Yeah. And that'll be like the last gift that Frank gave her, and it's really kind of like bittersweet and beautiful and sad all at the same time. Yeah. All right, guys. So I think that wraps up this episode of the Outlander After Show on AfterBuzz TV. I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow. You can also catch me on the table read on Popcorn Talk on Fridays. From where can they go find you?
I'm Emily Harlan. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at OMG. It's MLE.
And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Rachel Goodman or Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman. You can also find me on Tuesday nights doing the Ray Donovan AfterBuzz talk show, or I also host The Young and the Restless on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been kind of sexy. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.